In general, I think that the practice of European states and how they apply basically international standards in their domestic context is very important, especially when it comes to the institutes such as territorial autonomy. They are pretty unique element in the political systems of states. And if you look at the European practices, there is not that many that actually exist. And South Tyrol South Tyrol has autonomy in Italy, and Alan Islands in Finland are one of the, I would say, the most successful autonomies in terms of how they function and how they deliver the self-rule to the population. When we look at the experiences of South Tyrol and Alan Islands, they are both autonomies existed, one for 100 years and another for 70 years. So if you look at the different contexts, most of these autonomies have been established as an instrument for resolving conflicts and for protecting particular ethno-national groups within particular territory. Looking at protection of their languages, protection of their culture, traditions, and so on. And if you look at these two autonomies, we could see that they quite successfully managed to live these communities in peace and thrive within Italy and Finland. So I would see that for the population of the country and for the minorities as well, it was these are quite successful autonomies. Why we have used these two examples, and generally why we use the international practice here in the context of Moldova. I believe that bringing the different perspectives, plurality of experiences into the Moldovan context in trying to find relevant solutions, and also in developing Moldovan states that respects the needs and rights of all population is extremely important. And I think these two countries and these two autonomies have been very successfully trying to do that. So I think these are two really good examples that could be applied here, and that we also use more concretely in the work of the Parliamentary Working Group on Gagauzia. If you look at the comparative practice of autonomies in general, and in particular if you look at the Alan Islands and South Tyrolean autonomy, then for me there are three important lessons that are applicable here for Gagauz autonomy and for the Moldovan state. One of the important features for any territorial autonomy and coming territorial autonomy into being and effectively functioning within the national system is to have really strong entrenchment of the autonomy arrangements. And if you look at both South Tyrol and the Alan Islands, they both have constitutional underpinning. Why that is important? It is important in order to actually secure some stability of those arrangements, and at the same time to actually establish trust for the territorial community living in there with the national and the autonomy states, that it's guaranteed. Stability, because in order to develop self-government and self-rule, you need to have a time. You need to have a time to build capacity. You need to have a time to build institutions and so on. So I would say that's one of the really important lessons from looking not only in the South Tyrol autonomy, Alan Islands, but also other autonomy arrangements. The second important lesson from the autonomy context, and I would say more general when you look at the subnational governance, is distribution and division of competencies. And I would here say also distribution of responsibilities. Not only you get the competencies, you basically also get the responsibility. And and in this context, I wanted to say it's not essentially that once you decide on the list, this is a continuous process, and it's both experiences of South Tyrol and Alan Island can show with different revisions of their autonomy statutes that the ways how the competencies have been divided, the detailed precisions made, has been extremely important element for creating the possibilities for ensuring the governance and self-rule in the autonomy, but at the same time, basically working within the wider national system. So from that perspective, the division of competences and understanding this is a continuous process, that they are being revised, that you have an institutional framework that actually secures that through different platforms. That's extremely important lesson to understand from the other context. The third lesson, I would say, is from all these contexts, and if you look at the Alan Islands and South Tyrol, they have evolved over 100 years, and 70 years is the capacity. Initially, when these autonomies have been built, there was not as much capacity for the self-rule, but generally within the when it came to the institutional framework and so on. So capacity is, I think, the key word to be built, that for not only for autonomies to building capacities, but also capacities how the cooperation and communication between the different institutional frameworks is. And this is, I think, extremely for Moldova. I think that's the main lesson also in the context of the wider European integration, having basically well-functioning public administration, and all the subnational levels are working well together. So that's and there is enough capacity for that. But I think that's a key.